Hey, Spring Valley, hope you're doing well. I'm going to do something very quick. I'm going to get the kettle with some water on. While that's heating up, we're getting back into a routine. Each week during the year of the Bible, I've been going live and answering your questions and answers. And two things have really messed up our flow. The first is that my schedule changed, and I was doing it on Mondays, and we were going to move it to Wednesdays. And right when that change was taking place, of course, the coronavirus broke out. I was on vacation 1 week, so we are a couple of weeks behind. Now, because we're a little bit behind, there's only one question I have from a couple of weeks ago, and it wasn't even directly related to the year of the Bible. I will get to it. Now, if you have any questions, while we're live, we'll be live for about the next 20 minutes. Feel free to send them in and put them in the comments, and I will answer them. And if you don't have any questions, right now where you're watching this after it's live, you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you can still put your questions in the comments, and I will get to them next week. So since I only have one question, and the coronavirus is going on, and COVID-19 and all that stuff, I thought, you know what, I want to connect with you, my church. So this is my kitchen, welcome to my home, and with businesses kind of shut down, I thought, how do you get a good cup of coffee? Most people don't know how to get a good cup of coffee. If you're going to McDonald's, if you're going to Dunkin' Donuts, even if you're going to Starbucks, you're not getting a good cup of coffee. So I thought, I'm going to make a good cup of coffee. I'm going to show you what you need to make a good cup of coffee. And this is actually one of my most exciting videos. And if you don't like it, tough, sorry. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I hope you like it. I hope you love it. I hope that you make a good cup of coffee and you let me know. So, water just hit the boil. We're going to turn that off. Here's what you're going to need. That's going to cost maybe $1.50 to get everything you need, but once you have it, you're good to go. All right, first of all, we have Good Burr Grinder. By the way, I'm not sponsored or paid by any of these companies, but you want a Good Burr Grinder, right? You don't want your coffee already ground because it's not fresh. Do not use a blade grinder. Don't do that. Why not a blade grinder? You cannot adjust the grind size, and also there's no uniformity. That blade's spinning, and the beans are getting chopped up, and some chunks might be larger than others, and some chunks might be smaller than others. And the deal is, when you're making coffee, water is extracting from the bean, and if you have different size grinds, you're going to have different levels of extraction. The larger the grind, the longer it's going to take to extract, and the finer the grind, the less extraction time. So if it's not consistent, it's all over the place, that's not good. You don't have to go crazy expensive, no more than $100. This is the most expensive thing, but no more than $100. So you want a Good Burr Grinder. I have it set on the pretty much the finest setting, the most fine setting for the kind of coffee we're going to make today. You want a digital scale. This is going to come in handy. I use this every morning, $20. And then you want this. This is my preferred method of brewing a single cup of coffee. It's an AeroPress, $20, $30 at Target. And so this is what we're going to do. Now, normally I like to use local coffee. Tomorrow I'm actually going to the Shillington Farmers Market and getting some great local coffee roasted by Max Cremas. The owner is Alicia, and she's awesome, but I've not had a chance to go. And so this is AKA Coffee. I got it online. It's a good coffee. Okay. By the way, people are saying, I want dark roast coffee. I want dark. No, you don't. Dark roast just makes it all taste bitter. That's why we call Starbucks Charbucks. You really can't taste anything. It's just a palate for whatever flavored creamer you're putting in. You want bold coffee, but you don't necessarily want dark roast. So this is a medium roast coffee. We're going to get our digital scales going. I'm going to get to Q&A of the Bible, but we got to get some stuff. I'm going to set it to grams. Now that cup right there is 466 grams. We're going to clear it or tare it. So now we are back at 0, and I want 19 grams of coffee. Now, it's late in the day, so I'm going to make a small cup of coffee. You could just double this, and you would have, you could double my ratio. If you want more, but I'm going to do 19 grams of coffee. Travell, do you drink coffee? Do you want this cup of coffee?
Sure.
Okay. Yes! I'm going to make this cup of coffee for Travell.
Victory Royale.
And 19. 19 grams of coffee into the grinder. When you grind coffee, it has the annoying habit of getting staticky and clingy, and then it doesn't want to come out of the container. So a little trick is if you just literally run the back of a spoon underwater, put a couple drops of water in there, it's going to help. It's not going to completely eliminate the static, but it's going to help with the static. Okay, this can be loud. That's myself. This is live. My kids are in the other room, my wife's in the other room. And I'll make it in this little cup so you can see it. Okay. AeroPress comes with all of this stuff. Filter in the container. You don't want a paper taste, so I'm just going to rinse this underwater for a second to get rid of any of the paper taste. While I'm doing this, I want to encourage you to make sure you're doing your year of the Bible reading. I did mine this morning. It's actually the first thing I do when I wake up. Well, the first thing I do when I wake up is I make a cup of coffee. I wake up, I make a cup of coffee, and then I go upstairs, and as I'm drinking my cup of coffee, I do my year of the Bible reading. And so I hope that not only are you drinking a good cup of coffee, but you're drinking that good cup of coffee while you're doing your year of the Bible reading. Okay, 19 grams of coffee, ground very, very fine. Now we're going to go to milliliters, I think. Milliliters. Okay, we're going to zero that out again. And I want 200 milliliters of water. It's a little bit too much. That's 226, so we're going to pour some out. 206. 203. 200 exactly. Look at that. Now, okay, on the AeroPress, you're going to see some numbers. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to make AeroPress coffee. AeroPress is actually one of the most versatile ways of making coffee. There's different recipes, and if you go on YouTube, there's actually a yearly global competition as people try different recipes. But this is the original recipe. This is what the founder invented, and it's going to make something like an espresso-esque coffee that we're then going to turn into an American coffee. So we're going to pour right up to the 2. So I can see, looking through, I can see where the 2 is. So I'm going to pour water right up to the 2. And we're going to stir for 10 seconds. A fairly vigorous stir. Like, don't go crazy, but this is how, one of the ways we're helping to extract what we want. And then we're going to press. Now, this is an airtight cylinder. So this is mimicking an espresso. Now, it's not nearly the level of pressure. So espresso forces water through a puck of coffee, and it creates an extremely high level of pressure. Because this is an airtight cylinder, it's also creating a pretty good amount of pressure. Nowhere near an espresso. So it makes an espresso-like cup of coffee, but it's not espresso. You want a very gentle press. So I'm pretty much just letting the weight of my arm, my forearm, rest on this. And then gravity is doing the rest of the work. And you can see it brewing underneath. I love the year of the Bible. I'm about a week ahead, so today, obviously there's Psalms and Proverbs every day. I'm in the Gospel of Luke, and then I'm in the book of Deuteronomy. Since I'm about a week ahead, you may be in slightly different books. If you have questions, I love your questions. Now, I'll show you. Close that off. Cleanup is easy. That's the puck of coffee. Just going to dispose of it there. Clean up. rinse it underwater. Because that's airtight, it pushes everything else out, and you are good to go. Now, this is like an espresso level strength coffee. To make an American strength coffee, we are going to add the rest of the 200 milligrams. Now, some people get weirded out. I have a friend that owns, well, an acquaintance that owns a coffee shop. And he was like, dude, I just don't like adding water to coffee. This is actually called an Americano. It's pretty common in the rest of the world. It's American coffee. Last year when I was on vacation in Mexico, I would go to the coffee shop at the resort I was at, and I would ask for a coffee. And what they would do, they would make a shot of espresso and then add water to it. It's called an Americano. A cappuccino is when you're adding, cappuccino is mainly frothed milk and then frothed milk. A latte is mainly just milk. And an Americano is when you add water. It's not watered down. It's taking a very concentrated bit of coffee and making American strength. Now at this point, I drink it black. I think it's good. I think it's mellow. I think it's easy to drink. It should not be bitter. It should not be too acidic. It should be very pleasant and very smooth. And this, my friends, if you have a good grinder, and if you have good coffee, and if you have the right ratios, this is important. For over a year, I was making subpar coffee, because even though I had good beans and a good grinder, my ratios were all off. If you have the right ratios, a good grinder, good beans, very quickly you can make a good cup of coffee. I put it into my Deadpool mug, because I like pop culture. Travell, how do you drink your coffee? Do you like cream and sugar, black? How do you drink it?
Cream and sugar.
Cream and sugar. So I'll leave this for Travell. He can go make his coffee the way he wants to. We got some cream in the fridge. We got some sugar over there if you want to. I'm going to keep talking to you while he does that. Travell, go drink your coffee. So there was only one question I saw in the Year of the Bible, and someone had asked, I'm going to paraphrase, but they had asked, how do you know if your marriage is from the Lord, if you're in a toxic relationship? How do you know when it's time to get out? It's a very, very important question. And while it's not directly derived from the Year of the Bible speaks to this. And so let's talk about that. Because while we're in quarantine, that relationship could be either getting better as they have more time together, or it could be getting much, much worse. I do want to help Travell. He's using some vanilla creamer. Part of me wants to say, no, this is good coffee. You're ruining it with the creamer. You use the flavored creamer for your cheap coffee. But I love him and he can do whatever he wants to do. If you want sugar, we have sugar in that bowl right over there with spoons. Okay, let's go back to this. Right? You know, we're team members in a church, but maybe you're husband and wife, and you say, no, you're ruining my coffee. And she says, I'll drink coffee however I want to drink coffee. And then you're texting me on, text in church or, the Facebook app and saying, Pastor Kyle, when do I know that this marriage is toxic? All right, all joking aside. It's actually a really hard question to answer because I don't know what the person writing in means by toxic. Does toxic mean that we're just not happy? Does toxic mean that we just argue a lot? Does toxic mean that that there's physical abuse? Does toxic mean that there is infidelity going on? Like, I don't know what that means. But here's what I can tell you from the Bible. If you're married, you do not have to wonder whether or not that marriage is God's will for your life. Because the Bible says what God has joined together, let nobody separate. Travell, be honest, how's the coffee?
It's good.
He just give me a thumbs up. He says, is it good?
Yeah. Especially with my favorite creamer.
Especially with his flavor. He's not even tasting the coffee. He's tasting vanilla creamer. Anyway, blasphemy. He doesn't deserve that coffee. Anyway, my grace is sufficient. Anyway, if you are married, and it doesn't matter if you were married at the JP, if you were married in a church, if you were married before you were saved or after you were saved. If you were married, the Bible says in God's eyes the two have become one, and what God has joined together. And again, you might not have even known God when you got married, but God solemnized those vows. What God has joined together, let no one, including the couple themselves, separate. So if you are married, the thought, is this the person that God has for me, should never even cross your mind. That man or that woman is the person for you. Now, obviously some personalities are more or less compatible with each other, and this is why before you're married, people should take time to make sure that it's the right person. My wife, this is the trick before you're married. You don't want to take too long for a number of reasons, including the fact that we don't want temptation to be a major issue, but you do want to take long enough that you really know the person and that you know what you're getting into. So in the case of my wife and I, we started talking in the summer of 2004. We started dating, I think officially dating as a couple, in October of 2004, and I proposed to her the day after Christmas 2005. So we were talking for about a year and a half, dating for a little bit longer than a year. Once we got engaged, we did 5 sessions of premarital counseling with a certified counselor. She was living in Buffalo, New York at the time, and I would travel to Buffalo. I would not stay with her because we were dating. We were not living together. I stayed with a friend of her family, but we paid good money. We didn't have a lot of money, but we paid good money, and we did 5 sessions of premarital counseling with a certified Christian counselor, and it was very helpful. And I remember certain sessions where I was challenged. My expectations of marriage were challenged, and my idea of marriage was challenged, and it was challenged in the right way. So I would say before you're married, you really do want to do the work of making, also apart from the counseling, we were reading books. We were reading a series of marriage books to help prepare us for marriage, and we were having discussions based off of those books. Right? Reading the book doesn't really do it, but if you're both reading the same book and then having a discussion, that can help. So anyway, before you're married, you really want to do the work and make sure that this is a person that you're compatible with. After you are married, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have different personalities. It doesn't matter if you have different hopes and dreams. It doesn't matter if you have different styles of conflict. It doesn't matter, because once you're married, you're one in God's eyes, and what God has joined together, let no man separate. So you should just know that that person is the right person for you. And if by toxic you mean that you're not happy, or you argue, or you don't understand one another, or you just don't get along, that does not matter. Now, you should get marriage counseling. You should get some marriage mentoring, maybe. Marriage counseling would be with a certified counselor. Marriage mentoring would be simply getting around an older married couple and learning from them. There's a number of things that you need to do. You shouldn't be apathetic. You should take action to repair your marriage, but you should not question whether that person is the right person for you. Now, if by toxic there's physical abuse involved, then you need to separate and stay separated until it's safe, or it's clear that that person is unwilling to reconcile. Okay? So if by toxic we just mean we don't get along and we fight all the time, doesn't matter. You just need to work on your relationship. If by toxic there's physical abuse, then there needs to be separation until it's safe or there's clarity. If by toxic we mean that there has been infidelity and that one person has cheated on the other, that's the only stipulation that the Bible gives for divorce. But again, you don't have to get divorced. And even if there's infidelity, God can repair marriages where there's been a break of trust. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of it's not going to be a quick process. It's going to be a long process. But I know couples personally that God has saved their marriage even after infidelity. So, again, that was the only question that came in this week, but it was an important enough question that I thought I should answer it. Now, any questions come in while we were talking? Nothing. Is anybody live? Yeah, if you're live, okay, hopefully you enjoyed the coffee. If you have questions, please put them in the comment box. And maybe next week we'll come back from my home again. Maybe each week I'll do, you don't care. I'll do a little tour of my home. Next week, if you like the coffee thing, I will show you. Shanti got me one of the greatest gifts ever for Father's Day. It's ridiculous and amazing all at the same time, and it's coffee related. And if you're interested, We'll come back to my house next week, and I'll show that to you. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Tonight at 6:30, we're going live with my dad's Bible study. And then on Sunday at 11 o'clock, we're going to be going live again. This past Sunday was awesome. So many of you joined. It was our first week using our new cameras, new technology. It was awesome. There's a little bit of a learning curve. We think that the video and the audio will be even better this week. And it was okay last week, but it should be even better this week. So anyway, guys, we love you. We want to stay connected to you. God bless and have a great day.